Good evening, everybody. It's Thursday, May 29th, 2025 at 7:01 PM. This is the Town of Wellington, Connecticut's Board of Finance Special Meeting. Being called to order. And we do not have to have seating of alternates. We'll go right to present to speak. Public participation is desired and encouraged. Speakers will be limited to time and appropriateness of comments to maintain progress, stay on topic, and maintain the quorum. Do we have anybody for present to speak? Yes.
Let's see if there's anybody online for. Thank you. Pete Tanaka, 125 Mason Road. Last week you were, each of you had a number of pages of spreadsheets on what 3.5, going up by 0.5% looks like. And I noted at the beginning of the meeting that in every one of those spreadsheets, general government took the total hit. And I said, is general government gonna take the total hit? No, that's just for illustration, that at the end of the meeting, general government took the total hit. Education walked out of here is still at 2.77, which is what they offered. So I was a little disappointed in that. The reasons for that are that general government costs are going up. We just got the bids this morning for landscaping, which comes out of the general government budget, even though it covers the school's fields. It's going up $5,000 a year minimum, plus all the extras, the a la carte stuff, which we won't be able to afford now, have all gone up. And that was the cheaper of the two bids. The other one was jumping by, I believe, 35,000. So we're trying to do the best we can on that. Also, the number of trees, dead trees, have even hit here at the town hall on the, what is it, the west edge of the parking lot there. There's two very large trees that are gonna come down to our parking lot. So we need to take care of those. They are on town land. We're gonna be responsible for that. So all of our prices are going up. We just also got the contract for our building official. That's almost a 3% jump, which I'm not sure, we didn't have that information when we built our budget, so I'm not sure it's built in.
Building official meaning the inspector?
The inspector,
Okay.
yes, the building inspector, we contract for that through Bolton. Because it's a 1-day-a-week job. There's just not enough certified building inspectors, so. These prices are going up and we're at an actual hit. And I think this is the first time in my experience with both the Board of Finance and with general government, where we've gone below a zero. So I'm expressing my discontent to that. Also, what I'm asking of this board is that should this fail, we should have a plan in place where we show some serious urgency towards a third referendum. What I would suggest is that you file a referendum, file an agenda for the day following the referendum. If the referendum passes, you can cancel the meeting, but that would get you in the day after the referendum to come up with the new numbers, not plan on coming up with come up with the new numbers, call a town meeting so that we can move on. It takes it from the time you ask us us meaning the Board of Selectmen, to call a town meeting to a referendum is a minimum 2 weeks. And tax bills have got to go out, so that's my piece.
Yeah, I saw Colin did that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. Anybody else for present to speak? Nope, then we will move on to new business. Alex Moore, is he up here yet? No.
I am here. I'm the iPhone. It won't let me change my name.
Okay,
Sorry.
We call you I for short.
Sure, why not?
All right, so number one, Alex Moore, Chief Wellington Fire Department, number one, and your request.
Good evening. I think Donna had sent a sample of what we're requesting, at least what the motion is, to Bruce. So we're running short in this year's operating fund. Some of our expenses were, especially with the OSHA work that had to be done, some vehicle repairs, came in way over budget than what we were anticipating. So we're asking if we can transfer 10,000 from payroll overage because of healthcare savings into the operating budget.
Anybody have any questions for Alex regarding this request? Okay, so
Alex, this is something that you're considering as a one-time situation.
That is the
Um,
hope. Yes, yeah. It was the vehicle repair was a sensor. It was an $8,000 sensor that we were not prepared for. That's 3,000 over what we budget for that truck to get repaired. So
any other questions? No, so we have a suggested motion for fiscal year 24 to 25, end of year budget transfer. Date May 29, 2025, which is today's date. Chief Alex Moore is requesting a transfer of $10,000 from Fund 17 to ambulance PR to Fund 18, going to Fire Department number 1 operating budget to cover repairs that were needed for the OSHA investigation and for an increase in labor for vehicle repairs. The ambulance PR budget is tracking favorably and Chief Moore's forecasting surplus at the fiscal year of the vehicle budget. Actually,
Was that a motion?
that's not all of it, so he's asking for $10,000 from 17.0.000.004. Transfer out Fund 17 to 18.I.1800.004. Transfer in Fund 18. Do we have a motion to accept that?
I'll move.
And second, I'll second it. All right, all those in favor say aye.
Well, can we have discussion?
Oh, yes, discussion.
No, so they really helped us out in the budget cutting process. That was, so I can see doing this for one time, but I will say discussions in CIP, and Chief Moore knows about this, is that we have so many vehicles up for repairs, and a lot of them are on borrowed time now in the firehouses. And so we're trying to keep Fund 17 as focused on those replacements as we can, because we really don't have much of really any savings except for that to address them. And they're now like $1 million vehicles, so a lot of them are close to. So, that's why this is, that, generally speaking, we're trying to kind of protect Fund 17 for that. But in this case, I would, a one-time thing, so.
Anybody else have any comments?
can I just ask, this is out of the payroll overage, right? This isn't Donna?
This is
Correct, not emergency service reserve, but payroll.
Payroll. Thank you.
All right, no further discussion. All those in favor? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Item number 2, vote to recommend to the Board of Selectmen to call a meeting for the purpose of a second referendum for general government and education budgets. Discuss whether or not to add question to referendum ballot. So,
You need a second before I
Yes.
start talking.
need a motion. You have a motion?
I'll move.
Well, do we want to, I guess, do we want to add a question?
Well,
Well,
you
no,
have to have
you
a
can just-
motion
you
in
can
a second,
discuss
then you
that.
can add, and then you can talk about it.
Yeah.
Somebody just has to make a motion to, so we.
So moved.
Second. All right. Any discussion? Peter?
Yeah, I do have some discussion. I know it's not starting to speak, but I think I'm ex officio. So I can
Yeah,
still talk.
me too.
The extra question you were thinking about asking, if I'm not mistaken, is asking, the public whether they thought the budget was too high or too low? Is that the extra question you were thinking?
So you asked me that, I put it on the agenda, so now we've been talking.
Okay. I called the lawyer. The lawyer says that it is fine under Connecticut General Statute 7-344. So we can ask the question as an advisory question. If everybody says it's too high, you're not bound by that, but it gives you a data point. I also spoke to the registrars. The ballots can be printed with the question of too high or too low, and the programming can work with the scanner. So it's legal and it's possible, and so that's up to you.
And what's a Gaines really?
All I know is that the last meeting, which editorial comment was interminable, was that there was a lot of discussion on, do we know that it's too high or do we know that it's too low? And it was pointed out that there was no information, there was no data. Other than word of mouth on what we're hearing, so that's why I looked into it.
So we actually think people voted against that last budget because it was too low.
No, I personally don't, but we don't have any data to say one way or the other. We don't know how much people, how, you know, the level of too much high and too low. 'Cause if you vote no and then you don't vote the second question, you may have thought it was too high and just didn't care how much too high.
But there's,
And there are two questions, so, you
There's
know,
two questions, and so there would be two advisory questions. I have a sample ballot if you'd like to see it.
yeah, sure. But Pete, could I just ask you, I think it would be good if we ask, regardless of how they vote, what they say, because you can, I think when you tabulate, if you tabulate that, you can sort the yes votes with their answers, how many on the yes voted, they thought it was too high, how many thought it was too low. There may be
Well-
people who are passing it to get it passed, who still think it's too high. You know what I'm saying?
Yep,
Okay,
but. You know, pass is a pass, it's a
No,
pass-fail
no,
question.
but it's not just about that,
Right.
we're looking
The
at the
problem is that
attitudes
then
of
we'd
the
have to
voters,
have
you know.
6 questions. And I'm
Oh,
not
do
sure
you?
yeah, because you'd have to say, if you voted no, was it too high or too low? If you voted yes, was it too
No,
high or
you
too low?
don't, you just don't have that clause, you just say, question 2, non-binding advisory question. Do you think the budget is too high or too low?
I'm not sure that wording is legal. The reason we're going with this wording is because this has been passed with lawyers. That's,
Oh, you mean like you have to have the clause?
yeah, as far as I know.
well, the thing with it.
Well,
though-
just,
I can try to get it to the lawyer, but we have limited printing.
I
on it
just,
now.
I don't like the idea of just asking one group of the voters and not the others. And so to me, it's the simplest way. would
Well,
be
this
to
is,
say,
this is what the towns around us are doing. That's,
yeah,
I
because,
don't reinvent wheels. I just use what I got.
So with this, do you ask like which budget do you think the Board of Ed is too high? or
Yeah,
too
no,
yeah, one of them's an education question,
see,
one's
you
a
guys,
general
low?
government.
yeah,
But you could cut
Question
the
1.
clause off underneath it and just say,
is the town willing to vote for
Either
the
way.
budget? If you voted no, you think it's too high or too low? Well, if they
see,
voted
like,
yes, it's-
I think it would be useful to
Right.
hear from people who vote to pass the education budget if they think it's too low.
Yep.
I think
But-
that's useful.
If they vote yes, it's within an acceptable range. If it's voting no, it's not
Yeah.
within an acceptable range, so.
I just think that we were presuming what voters think when they say yes or no, and I think there's more stratification in it. That's.
Can
you
I
know,
work on
can-
that for
can-
next year?
You mean
Seriously, I just don't have the
just
time.
ask the no guys this year.
Just ask the no guys this year, next year we'll ask the yes and the no
Next year,
guys.
maybe we won't have to have.
Maybe
this
next year we
situation.
won't have to do this.
Yes, please, you'd say it's too low.
Either way, one way or the other, I just, you know, we're under some serious time constraints here for printing, et cetera, et cetera.
So Talon did do it on their first referendum on May 6th.
Yeah, they did.
They have not done it on the last one and they won't do it on this coming one. Want to see if there's.
Well,
Oh, did I say that out loud?
you don't like it?
You don't like it at all.
Well,
So-
you have to, it's just a little confusing because is asking the
You
question
want one,
twice.
2, 3, 4.
Well, I don't know, it just feels like, what are you answering this to? I'm assuming this one,
Yeah, goes to this one,
but,
and this one goes to this one, but, we can, put something in the thing saying for,
it's,
the town budget or for the school budget.
And this is really like nitpicky, but could it be like question 1A, question
I don't
1B?
oh, the questions.
I mean, just so you would know.
Right,
It would clear up the,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
So how about if we're, how about? I don't know. We
How about
say
we just
if you
leave it
vote-
how it always
if you vote
is, and we,
No on question 1,
right.
and then you.
I think
vote
they
no
were
on
smart enough to vote without that there. There's too many gray areas with it too. Doesn't do anything for me.
All right,
Yeah,
we'll take it off.
Anybody who can do math knows if they like the budget or not.
Well, the one thing that I will say is that as Peter pointed out, the general governance budget has for the first time in a number of years actually taken a hit into
Negative
last-
territory.
negative territory. And there are possibly people in town who may be upset that services are taking a hit. So, or CIP is taking a hit.
Yeah, I'm thinking on that, and I wanted to say something when you did present to speak, but it's pertinent now, and that is. You know, almost, I mean, the lion's share of that, and the reason it's in the negative is because we rated the savings in CIP.
Mhm.
Because we didn't take further cuts in most other areas. In fact, we left the new proposed hours in human services
Right.
and public works.
But
So-
we had already cut the, we do have a tree problem, we cut all the increase in that, we cut all the increase in pavement, we cut all the increase there.
You have a valid point on that,
So-
but that didn't put it in the negative. the
That didn't put it in the
CIP.
negative, but it started bringing us closer to 0.
I don't disagree with you on that.
and I think it's possible, because this is, I guess, how I feel. You can vote yes for it, but still think it's too high.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And we wouldn't capture that insight at all, so,
Yeah,
Alright, so nobody likes this now.
no,
no,
All right,
I think it's just gonna cause more
That's-
questions than any.
but if we do
I
like,
just need a
if
vote so that I can decide what I'm doing.
we set a policy though for this, to do this in the, like in the future. I think, I think that we should definitely include both sides.
Sure.
At that point.
If you bring that up early, then we can start getting it through the lawyers and the printers and
And I think-
everybody else.
I think there needs to be an explanation of it since it is going to be a new method. of
Yeah, and
survey.
we can do that next year.
Absolutely.
And Pete, speaking of policy, can we,
I heard.
Sorry, that
Speaking-
wasn't supposed to be out loud.
what did he say?
No.
Speaking of policy, could we get, an actual official copy of the policy that we're operating under, that we did you get to I think in a rush last year, consulting with Stafford and everything. And then like,
I
when
believe I
was it,
consulted with the lawyer as well.
but that kind of data
Right.
and like a date on it and when it was, if it was passed by anybody and what that vote was, like, was it passed by Board of Selectmen or
don't-
was it just?
It was, we
Done.
just found what. We found a logical process. That was legal under state law and went with it.
Okay, but based on that we're similar to Stafford.
We're similar to Stafford and I believe that last year I also called Holland and asked them how they did theirs. Because both those towns are used to multiple
They've got a
referendums.
town manager and council, so that's a little different than
Yeah.
ours. Yeah, but I don't think they're town meeting in Tolland, are they?
No,
No, so we're pretty different than that.
yeah.
But I'm just thinking of the process of it, and if it is going to be a policy. I don't know that there's anything officially done in terms of a vote or town meeting or hearing on it. I don't think it resides in our ordinances or anything like that.
I
Of
don't
course,
believe
that
it
would
does
require-
either.
but
Because I went to our ordinances last year to see if there was something there wasn't. That's
for
why.
instance, I'm curious if it says anything about what has been uttered much at this table, but wasn't last year, and that is. That if this fails on the second referendum, will automatically revert to this year's fiscal budget.
That
I
I
haven't
believe
seen
is,
that anywhere.
that I believe is a state mandate so that we can send out. It doesn't refer to last year's budget. It reverts to last year's budget amounts so that we can send out preliminary tax bills so that we don't default on our payments until we get a referendum passed, and then we send out a modification to the tax bill.
Can we see that statute though, that that's relying on? Because I'm not seeing that.
All right,
Practice across
I'll
the
see if I
board.
can find it.
It was in
I
your
had enough
packet
to-
last week.
What?
It was in the packets last week,
That one,
the statute.
Oh, it was? Sorry, I'm online today. It was in last week's packet, Donna?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So
Yes.
Peter, do you think you could talk to your counterpart in Tallinn and find out why they opted to put that on the ballot the
Question?
first time around, but not the second, third?
Sure.
Thank you. That'd be interesting to find out.
and have other towns done it too? Like, did Stafford do that? And did like
I'm-
Coventry do that?
I believe Coventry did, I don't quote me on that, I believe they did,
Okay.
and I don't think Stafford did, but I can ask.
Bolton did last year.
All right.
So is there any further discussion on item number 2? Not. We'll vote to recommend to the Board of Selectmen to call a town meeting for the purpose of a second referendum
Vote on.
for general government and education.
You have to,
You have to vote on the motion.
I thought we had motion.
Yeah, he's just rehashing what the motion was.
Oh,
So all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? So it's unanimous.
So that means we're
No question.
no question, all right.
Well, we weren't voting on that. We were just discussing.
Yeah,
All right. Well, there was a motion to, for something, I don't know.
Yeah, we could have added it. We-
Yeah, all right.
No one liked it.
Never mind.
I'm doing that.
That's fine. Make my life easier.
So
Go ahead.
everybody
No,
was unanimous in their.
I like it with changes, you know, I mean, I'm not saying I don't like it, but we're moving ahead because
Yep.
that was the consensus, so.
So present to speak, public participation is desired and
Is there a motion to call a town meeting or
No.
request Board of Selectmen call a town meeting?
yes.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
I was.
Never mind. Sorry, I thought we were just talking about adding the question.
Board of Selectmen, call a town meeting.
We'll do that. We have a meeting tomorrow morning,
Thank you.
or tomorrow afternoon, 1
At
o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Present to speak, public participation is desired and encouraged. Speakers will be limited to time and appropriateness of comments to maintain progress, stay on topic, and maintain decorum. Lori Semperbaum?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, Lori Semperbon, Turnpike Road. I do think it's a good idea to put a question on. It may not be that necessary right now, but maybe in the future, because we spent a lot of time in these finance meetings talking about everyone wants a zero budget, and I don't think that was the case, but people were trying to convince everybody else that that was the case. And so I think if we had a question like that, we'd actually have some data where we could say, gee, there were some people who wanted the budget higher, there were some that wanted lower. I mean, I think that first referendum, most people probably thought was too high, but there was no mandate to go to zero, so we just don't really have any data. And I think it would be helpful, if we set that up ahead of time, that it would keep us from spinning our wheels a lot if it didn't pass the first time. So just, in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Zoom 2.
Yes, hi, this is Kathy Demers. I apologize that I can't change my name on the board. it shows up as Zoom too, because when I run Conservation Commission meetings, that's the tagline. Kathy Demers, 48 Mason Road. Some of my comments tonight are just in terms of getting ready for the town meeting. I hope that there will be more of a little bit of a narrative as to what has changed in the budget, not just the numbers. Unfortunately, I don't think people have a good handle on what has already been decreased from the initial asks in the budgets. And I think it's important for people to understand what other things have been basically taken away from the proposed budgets, particularly the savings that we were trying to do with CIP for things that are coming down the road. I don't think that the general public has a good understanding of how these decisions were made, because not everybody goes to the CIP meetings, not everybody goes to the Board of Finance meetings. They get a lot of their information on social media. So I think it's important to have something in writing that people can read ahead of time before the town meeting, as well as at the town meeting, so that people are better informed when they're making decisions at the referendum. It would be very sad if the budget failed, because then we'd have to adopt the previous budget with the approved Region 19 budget. And if we had to do that, it would be a significant cut into some of the Board of Selectmen's and Board of Education's budget. And I think this is irresponsible if we are going to do that, since there are so many things that we have been kicking down the road. And this is why we're in the situation we are now. And if we continue to allow ourselves to think that we can, have a very small increase or a zero increase, that we can continue to run our town effectively, then I think we're only fooling ourselves. So thank you for all your work on this.
Thank you, Kathy. Really? Peter?
I sorry to throw the baby Ruth in the swimming pool here, but I just received an email from Tammy Nuccio today. Is it today or yesterday? Sorry, I'm losing track.
Okay.
But it is, as current legislation is written, if this passes, so this is legislation that's currently written. The town will be taking a $72,062 hit in our CES, the ECS, the reimbursement that the state gives us for schools, for education.
It will be, if it fails.
If it passes, it will be a $72,000 cut in what the state paid us last year.
That's our stuff or the bill that they have at
No,
the
that's
state level?
at the state level.
Okay.
The state will be sending us $72,000 less than they sent us last year. So
And
that will be another decrease in revenue.
can you explain that? Because I've seen that in the loss in revenue
Is
since
it
the
in the-
beginning. 72, it just doesn't show up in detail, but that's the number
I didn't
it's
know whether
already,
it was already accounted for.
it's already in there.
All right,
Yeah, that's one of the reasons that this budget is not just about growth and spending.
right,
Loss in revenue, that's a big one right there.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
And you
didn't,
don't
I
see
didn't
it
think that
'cause
was in there
some-
because of something else.
There's some other things that other state aid that sort of evened it out, so the net loss.
Okay, wasn't,
In state aid is something like 20,000 or something
Right.
much smaller, yeah.
Okay, Peter?
Yep.
Thank you. James Marshall?
Good evening, everybody. James Marshall, Fisher Hill Road. I just wanted to say I second Kathy Demers' previous comments, that it would be very unfortunate to not be forthcoming and open in the discussion about what this budget means to the community, and not hyperbole and political posturing, but just actualities of what this means, because the reality is we need to pass this budget. And quite frankly, to follow your earlier discussion, I am one of those people. I'm voting yes on this budget, but I hate it. I hate every second of it because you guys made horrible cuts and horrible decisions to the CIP budget that are going to have long-term consequences in the years to come. But I'm voting yes on this, even though I believe it's too low. And I know there's a number of people that feel the same way. I also believe there's a number of people that are probably voting no to the general government budget precisely because cuts may have been made to CIP that were too drastic. And they're setting us up for long-term failure. So I think it's valuable information to have. I suspect the question as it was proposed in short order is likely untenable and not as productive as it could be. But I do think it's something that's worth considering for future years. But really, the only thing that's going to drive any positive direction here is if you guys have honest and straightforward discussion about what the actual needs of the town are, rather than just hypotheticals about where you politically think the budget should be. And with that said, I'll leave it at that. But we just need to get this disaster of a process behind us and move on to governing and doing other things in town that actually have a positive impact. So thank you.
Thanks, James. iPhone,
Sorry, Peter Latentich, my phone doesn't read correctly either, but Peter Latentich, 97 Trask Road. Good evening. I wanted to express my frustration and large disappointment, as I think many townspeople are, with the failure of the Board of Finance to make meaningful reductions in this budget, given the referendum outcome and the overwhelming mandate by the townspeople to reduce the budget. And I'm even more disheartened tonight because this kind of tone deafness or indifference has continued in your discussions tonight. There's even a simple addition to the ballot of whether the budget is too low or too high that might help townspeople was again ignored. We continue to hear at your meetings that the voters are ignorant or irresponsible. And this is just very disappointing in general. There seems to be this perception illustrated by the negative reaction to phasing in the revaluation that somehow the town's money would be impacted. It's not your money, it's the townspeople's money. You don't seem to understand the relationship we have with the town government. We don't work for the town should be serving us. Yet somehow this is completely backwards. And I strongly urge you to listen carefully to the results of the next referendum. Thank you very much.
thank you, Peter. Kathy Demers, you're still up. You have anything else to add? No?
No, I'm
Go.
sorry. No, thank you.
Thanks, Kathy.
I have one more thing. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Mike, oh,
It's
go ahead,
okay, it's
Nick.
okay, go on.
Oh,
No, go ahead.
I do ask this board that to plan a meeting and final an agenda for the day after the referendum, so that if the referendum passes, you can cancel the meeting. If the referendum doesn't pass, we can start this process as soon as possible. We need to show some real urgency if this thing doesn't pass to get it done. So if you could schedule a meeting for the day after the referendum, see what you can do there, do the stuff that you did the last meeting for where your cuts are coming from, your dollar amounts, that kind of thing, so that we can go to the Board of Selectmen within the same week, because by the time, when we get it, it's a minimum 2 weeks till the next referendum. And we're really pushing it hard, so I ask that you show some urgency.
Do we need to vote on that, or can I just post an agenda?
We're on the,
You're on President's, I think you can just post an agenda. You have to ask your people if they can
we
make
do
it.
have a meeting scheduled in the calendar.
Okay, there you go. But is it the day after the?
It is,
Yes.
June 18th.
Beautiful, even better.
Nutella,
Hey, Nick Teller, Myrtle Road, Wellington. I just want to, state my frustration that the Board of Education more so didn't present a budget to you guys that was fair and reasonable. They really didn't take any hit compared to what the town did. I mean, our spending, those that say, well, we need to increase our spending for education. I mean, per pupil spending on one source here is 24,000, over 24,000. The average in the state is 22,000. That's over 10%. Nationwide is 18,000. We spend in our schools. The problem is our administration, Phil in particular, is not doing a good job being efficient and effective with the money that they have. I hope in the future the Board of Finance, keeps this in mind. And when they come to request more money that they don't need, the Board of Finance can kind of push back on them. I hope when this goes to town vote that everybody votes no. It's going to drastically impact the people that some of these board members understand. Thank you.
Thank you, man. Wayne,
I'm working on,
could you just identify yourself?
oh, I'm sorry, Elaine Newcomb, 28 Firmina Road, Wellington. Prior to the last referendum, the general, number was a 7.4% increase in the budget. Now, I understand, I don't know how accurate that was then. I don't know what modification of the number that was being understood by voters, what would be the current, yes. And I know some of it is probably dependent upon what the state does, right? Am I right in that? That projection?
Are you asking, what is the
Yes,
new
what the-
number
it's
instead of
3.5.
7.5? It's
Right, and I
3.5.
understand that that was probably an estimate at that time and may not have been totally accurate.
3.5.
But what,
3.5.
It's 3.5, and the growth in spending is 1.6%, right? Yeah, for all the budgets. Well, we're not doing Region 19. So
it's at 1.5?
1.6, yeah,
Okay, yes, thank you.
yeah.
Thanks, Stephanie. Do we have anybody else for present to speak? No? Anybody, Lori Semperbon?
Lori Semperbon again. I just would like to, not sure how to say this. I appreciate all the work that this board does, even though I may disagree with certain people on it. And it's really frustrating to me when members of the community disparage people who work really hard in this town. I'm really upset at hearing people trash Phil Stevens, who does a very good job as superintendent. And unless you're on that Board of Ed and you are in the schools and you are seeing what's happening there, it's just appalling to me that somebody at a public meeting would disparage our superintendent. I substitute in those schools. I see him in the buildings. I see how the schools are run. I just don't understand it, because we can be respectful of each other. We can disagree, but we shouldn't be disparaging people that we want to retain because they're doing a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Nick?
Couldn't let it ride.
The board,
Hey,
shutting that stuff down.
Yeah.
am I good or no? Sorry.
Yeah. Nick Teller? Yes, no?
Yeah, I lost what I was going to say. Sorry.
Okay. Thank you. John Tehan?
Hey, good morning, good evening, everyone. John Tehan, 26 Eldridge Mills Road. I just wanted to talk a little bit about our school systems and some of the numbers that I've heard at various Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen meetings. I heard one adult in the room stating that a 28% turnout of voters on May 6th meant that more than 1/3 of our voters showed up on May 6th. That's just not true. 28% is not greater than 1/3. It's less than 1/3. It's greater than 1/4.
but it's not greater than 1/3. So I had occasion this weekend at the Wellington Day festivities to conduct my own little unscientific poll. As usual, we were at the booth with arts and crafts for the kids. I was making campaign buttons and refrigerator magnets with all the artwork that the kids were doing. And every time I came across some fourth graders, I asked them if they were studying fractions and percentages in school. And every single one of them was, yes, studying those. And every single one of them knew that 28% is less than 1/3. So not only did I find all of those students to be proficient, I found them to be more proficient than some of the adults that are in this room. I think disparaging our schools gets us nowhere. They are doing a good job as far as what I can see. 100% of my respondents got it correct, but there's people in this room that did not. Let's not be so disparaging of our schools, and certainly not disparaging of Phil, who does a great job. Thanks very much.
Thank you, John. Nick, tell a last call.
Yeah, I just remembered. So I was just on the line. I don't, is the new budget online for those to see the updated numbers? Because it looks like it might not be. Maybe June 10th is what I saw it dated. I don't know if Donna knows if there's an updated number.
On the website.
Not yet.
It's not on the website yet?
No.
Okay. And I'm not going to get in back and forth. My last comment is that if you fail for 5 straight years with decreasing school scores, buildings falling apart, you're not doing a good job. That's just the reality. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Nick. Anybody else present to speak? Anybody for good and welfare? I'm good. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting? So moved. Second. Second. All right, those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed? I'll vote aye on that. Abstentions, unanimous.
If Mike McHugh's not around, I'll vote aye.
Pete, I think this is yours. Did you want to keep it in your?